The Elder Scrolls, one of the first names of a series that you think of, especially when you think of role playing games, RPGs. It is one of the biggest names, especially when it comes to Bethesda. So today we're going to talk about Elder Scroll Blades. Elder Scroll Blades was something that I actually watched the announcement for while checking out the E3 showcase in 2018. It never failed to get me excited when something from Bethesda would come up, especially when seeing Todd Howard walk up on stage. As a fan of both Oblivion and Skyrim, I couldn't wait to get my hands on this new installment for the Elder Scrolls series. While the game was announced in 2018, its development cycle would be a bit longer, with closed betas, open betas, adjustments, and more preceding the game's release, which was going to come out on iOS, Android, and eventually the Nintendo Switch, which that would come later in 2020. So, what is The Elder Scroll Blades? The Elder Scroll Blades is a spin-off title which takes place after the events of Oblivion. Story-wise, you play as a member of the former Blades, which is currently being hunted down by the Altmer. As an outlaw and an exile, the player runs back to lay low in their home village, only to see that the entire place has been destroyed. It turns out that the town had not been paying its share in taxes, and the Bloodfall Queen sent in mercenaries to collect. While destroying the town, an ancient statue was destroyed, which released a terrible necromancer unto the world. So now our goals are to rebuild the town, avoid capture by Thalmor agents, and figure out how to seal the necromancer back into his tomb. And it sounded like this would make for a pretty amazing adventure. So, how was the gameplay? Blades might look like your standard Elder Scrolls experience at first, but the controls are what made this game unique, we'll say. It was a game designed with mobile devices in mind and focused more on one-on-one combat rather than allowing players to fight mobs or large groups. Using certain buttons or touches, players can raise or lower their weapons to block enemy attacks or go on the offensive from the left or right side. Success in battle generally comes from blocking at the perfect time in order to stun an enemy and gain an advantage in how many swings you can get in. Likewise, if you hit an enemy from a side which they are blocking, you can get stunned, which then leaves you at a disadvantage. Unlike other Elder Scroll games, Blades allowed players to equip up to 3 spells at a time, and there were various skills which could be equipped as well. Blades also utilized loadouts, which would change armor, weapons, skills, and magic, and this came in handy as each enemy NPC had an elemental weakness, and having various elemental loadouts would come in handy. Now, unlike a full Elder Scroll game, Blades was very on the rails. While players can move around their hometown, there are no outside villages or areas to travel, save for the various levels or dungeons. Even then, the levels are extremely linear, and they end when you complete your goals and find all the loot. While there are secret doors that you can sometimes find and different paths you can take, many elements of the regular Elder Scroll games are taken out, and ultimately all paths lead to the end of a dungeon. Stealing and sneaking no longer exists, and weapons like bows have been taken out. You also cannot loot any bodies, and there aren't any official quote-unquote guilds to join in-game either. Leveling is kept simple, using experience gained by completing quests and slaying enemy NPCs. There are various modes of play, including the Abyss, which is an endless dungeon mode, and there is player PvP, but it is pretty much dead as the game did not really live up to the hype that they tried to generate for it. So, outside of the story, what is the point of Elder Scroll Blades? Well, the main goal is to level up and rebuild the town. This means going into dungeon after dungeon to get materials which you can then get from chests or random items that you can break within the level. Defeating boss monsters can get you gear which you can keep or scrap, and whatever materials you have not only go towards rebuilding the town, but upgrading your facilities once they are built, as well as upgrading your gear. It's a really grindy game, let's just say that. Since it's a mobile game, building something or even upgrading a building takes hours in real time, up to 21 hours or more sometimes. Your armor will break as you use it, which means the gold you make will need to be rationed, as you'll need to buy potions, you'll need to repair your gear, but then you'll still have to have enough to upgrade facilities so that you can craft and buy better items. Leveling is not really hard, but takes a long time, since experience is easy to get, but getting the appropriate gear for your level is where stuff starts to get more difficult. The first half of the story quests are relatively easy and you can breeze right through them, but then it all takes a turn when suddenly you're thrown into the second half of the game, which requires you to be at level 50 and well equipped to even attempt it in the first place. This happened for me around level 30, and this is where most people fell off of the game, if not before. Once you reach that second half of the game, you start to just feel stuck, because now playing the game consists of low-level job quests, smaller quests and side quests, and arena fights. The Abyss is not even worth running through, and upgrading your facilities takes ages because your gear is breaking so often you can't afford to rank up the blacksmith for something better. Even when you do upgrade something, you have to wait a day in real time just to reap the benefits of the upgrade. But wait, that's why there are microtransactions. Yes, you heard me right. This is a mobile game after all. With Blades being free to play, Bethesda had to make their money somewhere, and so they placed a shop in the game where players could spend real money to get ahead. Gems are the premium currency, and they are a do-all in the game. You can use them to speed up wait timers, you can use them to purchase building materials. While some items in the shop are merely cosmetic, like a fancy fountain for your village or statues, some are shamelessly pay to win, offering special armor and weapons with all manner of buffs and benefits. You can even gamble with fate and buy chests, which could contain any number of things. While you can absolutely play the game without spending any real money, it is clear that Bethesda wants to tempt you to open that wallet, offering amazing cosmetics, special gestures, and all the revival scrolls and potions you could ever want. But if that weren't bad enough, good luck getting the game to work half the time. This game makes my Switch heat up like crazy, let alone try to play it on a phone. Likewise, I can't even play the game for more than an hour without it crashing. And that alone makes me not to even want to touch the game ever again. That's why even in 2025, I still have not beaten this game, despite the many, many times I tell myself I'm going to. If you want my honest opinion, I think Blades had a lot of potential. Bethesda took the time to listen to players about the chess timers, but then they turned around and kept making the game more pay to win. While they added sigil quests to add a new shop and newer ways to challenge players and get them good items for free, it didn't change that the main game was too much of a grind, and with so little to do to even make the grind worth it, players shelved the game and left it at being a huge disappointment. And that's really sad, because I'll admit, when I could play the story missions, the story actually hooked me. I love the world of Elder Scrolls, and I love Elder Scrolls lore, so I was so excited to learn more about it, but the game just gives you some story, and then the rest of it is just, it seems like it's hidden behind this wall I just could not break through. Likewise, the graphics in the game weren't even that bad. I loved being able to make and design my own town and my own character. There was a lot to love here, but for what little you could love, the rest of the game was just terrible. Even now, there are still groups where you can find people that still play the game, and I'll admit there are times where I still pick it up and I have a look. Now, it's not one of those games that I pick up enough to where there's muscle memory, so I kind of fumble a little bit, I mess up here and there, I try and remember what the controls are like. And the thing is it's so familiar to other Elder Scroll games, with its aesthetics and the way that it just feels and looks to an extent. Like I said before, there was just so much to love had they just kept working on it and improving it, but it seems that with all the mixed reviews on iOS and Android, and then there being an overwhelming negative review there on the Nintendo Switch, this was never going to be a game that was going to succeed, so I don't blame them for just letting it go, but I really wish that they could have turned it around like some of their other games. Still, that's really all I got for this one. I I wanted to bring it up because this is one of those games that I just don't really think some people know about. Despite its hype at E3 and despite how many times it was brought up as far as whether it was for memes or people talking about it, there was a stint where people were mentioning it online just for how terrible it was, especially with the chess timers. You know, I feel like it blew up and then it quickly fizzled out. And so it's one of those games that, for preservation's sake, I just really wanted to talk about it. Now, am I going to beat this game? Who knows? I keep telling myself I'm going to, but, you know, like I said, I upgrade a shop and I see that 21-hour wait time, and then I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not about to spend $20 on gems just to be able to forge my ebony armor, you know? So, but anyways, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I wish that there was really more to talk about, but unfortunately there's not. You know, like I said, the story that I basically just gave the most basic synopsis of what it is, and yeah, there are some side quests, but those are so few and far in between, and even then, there's not even a lot of notable NPCs that I could even think about off the top of my head. You know? I will say the enemies look good. And the combat at times can feel really awesome when you time everything right, but mostly you're just pressing buttons and flailing around weapons. I think my favorite part, though, is the loadouts. I love being able to switch between all the different elements in order to take down foes, and it kind of feels not like Pokemon, but you know what I mean, with the elemental effectiveness, so it's got its strange charm, you know? But yeah, like I said, once you reach that grind and you're just doing all the low-level stuff, I mean, essentially, you're just in it. You're just in it for the long haul, and you just gotta accept that if you ever want to beat the game, so... You know, maybe I'll get there someday with my Khajiit. You know, me and Rashiri will finally see the Necromancer sealed back in his tomb, but I don't see that day coming anytime soon just because I lost patience with this game years ago, and I don't really see that necessarily coming back anytime soon. But yeah, so... Leave a like if you like this series, and if you'd like to have me discuss more games kind of like this. I love covering obscure games. I love trying obscure games. Whether they're good or bad or whatever, I like checking them out, you know, like I said, for game preservation's sake, if nothing else. Leave a comment if you've ever played Elder Scrolls Blades, or maybe you still play Blades. I wouldn't mind joining an active guild or something to where we can help each other out, because there are guilds you can join, but they're not like the official guilds like the Dark Brotherhood or anything like that. You can make your own guild like any other mobile game and send each other like copper and wood and things like that. So it'd be nice to join an active guild that actually helps each other out, and, you know, that's not going to kick me when I spend like 6 months taking a break because the game's crashed on me for the 30th time, you know, and just let me know if you've ever played this game before. Maybe you have a guild, maybe you don't, maybe you beat the game. Let me know if it was worth it for you. If you were one of the people that quit the game before they changed the chess timers, is it something that you would consider coming back to now that they've improved it? If they did make a game like Blades, what do you think that they could improve on? I mean, I could make a whole list of stuff. But anyways, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I always love seeing what you guys think, and I love replying to them and having discussions with you. But anyways, thank you so much for your continued support on my channel. It really does mean a lot to me. Lately I've been kind of down in the dumps, so I haven't really been making content like I normally do, and I've kind of just been losing myself in Oblivion, which made me think about Blades, and that's why I'm making this one now. But I really do appreciate all your support. I can't wait to finish Okami for you guys and then get into the next one. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and as always, I will see you all in the next video. Alright, ciao you guys.